What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is the most expensive construction mistakes in the world. This is kind of like going to be amazing, but also be like, oh my god, that's so much money down the drain.
Yeah, I hope it's not like... So sometimes, like with these things, you can kind of laugh, can't you? Because it's like...
Yeah.
But...
You haven't been no casuals and stuff like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So you can actually have a laugh at it, like...
Yeah, hopefully no one's been
Even
hurt.
though I'm sure, if no one's been hurt, but some people potentially would have offered jobs if it's the most expensive construction mistakes.
Yeah, and also like how big of a mistake it is.
Depends. You ready?
If it's a silly mistake.
Oh, hopefully it's a silly mistake. Smash that like button, guys. Smash that subscribe button as well. Would you smash the like button on this video?
Yeah, I would.
So why don't you guys? What is that goal for today?
2,000.
2,000. You guys best smash that. I got faith in you. Let's check out the most expensive construction mistakes in the world. What we got?
From horrible engineering flaws that led to tragic bridge collapses to windows crashing down from skyscrapers, here is our fourth part of the most expensive construction mistakes.
I don't know, but I feel like we've done a couple similar to these, and bridges is a common theme.
It is.
Don't go on bridges. Stay away from them.
I'm not going on bridges.
In the world. We begin with number 4, the horrific Mississippi Bridge collapse. Bridge collapses can be the most devastating incidents of infrastructure
For a second.
failure. They are often the result of engineering and construction flaws or lack of maintenance. In this case, both reasons probably played a big role in the disaster. On August 1st, 2007, the so-called I-35W Mississippi River Bridge collapsed into the Mississippi after 40 years of operation. More than 100 cars and 18 construction workers plunged 40 meters into the river. The disaster that remains one of the biggest tragedies in Minnesota history killed 13 people and injured another 145. The collapse started when the center span suddenly started to crumble, followed by other sections of the bridge. In the aftermath of the incident, many issues about the bridge came to light. The 8-lane structure had already been classified as structurally deficient, meaning that it was in desperate need of repairs. However, it was found that the bridge could still have survived if not for one other critical design flaw. The installed gusset plates, which join different beams and sections of the bridge, were found to be only half as thick as required. In addition, the investigation also found that nearly 300 tons of construction equipment was on the bridge at the time of the collapse.
Oh my days.
This, along with rush hour traffic, strained the structure further, and the thin gusset plates could not hold the bridge together any longer.
I know the gusset plates were thin, but it's meant up the fact that they lasted for 40 years.
Yeah, and then just decided to give up.
Yeah, would they be maintained? I don't know if they would have been maintained, not just because of where it is. I guess there must have been. I honestly don't
think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm not a structural engineer. I don't know that. But the fact that it's structurally got issues with it anyway, you'd think, even though there's construction stuff on there, just close the bridge, go round, you know what I mean?
Oh, never catch a meal one.
Yeah, that's dodgy. But for 40 years, I thought just to go like that.
Of the investigation were followed by
it is awful. There's loss of life as well. So if anyone's affected, I hope you're okay. It is awful.
Multiple lawsuits, and $52 million was paid to the victims of the bridge collapse.
Wow.
To make sure this tragic collapse doesn't happen to other bridges, the state legislature raised $2.5 billion for a bridge improvement program.
Fair play.
Close to $250 million out of that fund was set aside for contracts to rebuild the bridge.
Okay.
Number 3, the skyscraper that almost caused a tragedy. Constructed in the 1970s for around $120 million, the AON Center was the tallest building in Chicago. But the height of 346 meters wasn't the only thing impressive at the time. Also, its facade, consisting of Italian marble slabs, gave the AON Center a unique appearance. However, later on, this unique marble proved to be
proper it's at like a little angle, isn't it? Like a pointer towards the end of it. That's pretty cool, to be fair.
A very costly and dangerous mistake. It was soon found out that the marble slabs were too thin and started cracking right after they were attached to the facade. Just weeks after the tower's opening, one of its shaky marble blocks loosened from the facade and fell down. The falling block weighed about 160 kilograms, or the weight of a full-grown lion, and crashed into the roof of a nearby skyscraper. Fortunately, it didn't hit the street, and no one was injured. questions were raised over the structural stability of the tower itself. However, the architects stressed that the problem was only with the facade, which they secured to avoid further blocks falling down. Over the next few years, Chicago's temperature swings caused the thin marble slabs to bow outward again, and they started cracking. That's why in 1985, they decided to attach steel straps to keep the blocks from falling down.
Okay.
But this only proved to be a temporary solution. 5 years later, the whole exterior cladding had to be refaced. The marble slabs were replaced by much thicker granite panels at a cost of $80 million, or almost a quarter of the total cost of the skyscraper when adjusted for inflation.
Wow.
But the AON Center wasn't the only tower built in the 1970s that had objects falling out of its facade.
That is mental though, isn't it? Just the fact that you've got the thickness of your finish, your external finish on there, it's cost you 80 million because it's too dangerous, you've got to replace it. And because obviously inflation, it's a lot more than what it were. Yeah, that is mental. So you know what?
Do the job properly.
Yeah, do the job properly. Check. Be safe, especially if you're working on 120 million or whatever it is.
Come on, if
250 million.
You're spending 250 million on a property, then just pay the extra and make it proper.
Yeah, but I suppose that's the thing. They're trying to make a profit, aren't they? So they're going for as cheap as possible. But do the job right. Do the job right.
First.
There were other buildings having similar problems, like Chicago's CNA Center, which was completed a year earlier. The windows of the CNA Center started cracking due to thermal expansion and endangered the pedestrians below. But in 1999, something really bad happened. A window on the 29th floor cracked and killed a 37-year-old woman. After the terrible incident, a lawsuit started, which settled $18 million, and every one of the building's windows were replaced. Thermal expansion caused similar problems for a Boston skyscraper completed in 1976, as the windows of the famous John Hancock Tower.
I was going to say, there's issues with the windows, and there's all that glass. It's like, that does not spell good.
Started cracking as well. Some of the windows fell out and crashed onto the pavement. That's why the streets around the high-rise were closed during high winds. Ultimately, they had to replace over 10,000 windows to fix the problem. What do you think of this video so far? Do you know of other massive construction mistakes in your country? Let us know in the comments below.
Any other videos for us to check out.
Number 2, San Francisco's radioactive problem. This shipyard was supposed to be the site of San Francisco's biggest redevelopment project. The former Navy Yard in the city's bay housed the largest U.S. facility for nuclear research, and in 1945, components of the atomic bomb Little Boy were loaded onto a heavy cruiser from there. In the 2000s, the U.S. Navy wanted to clean up the radioactive waste at the site, and plans to transform the former shipyard were made. These plans included over 12,000 new housing units, several parks, and offices. To put these plans in motion, a company named Tetra Tech was paid $250 million in cleanup contracts from 2006 to 2012.
Okay.
Meanwhile, 2 different contractors were tasked with building homes while the cleanup work was done. However, the shipyard's future was thrown into uncertainty after allegations of a cleanup fraud. Starting from 2012, multiple whistleblowers came forward with accusations that Tetra Tech faked the cleanup process to speed things up. According to the allegations, workers from the company falsified data by using soil samples from clean areas and passing them off as soil from contaminated areas.
That's mental. You talk about radioactive stuff like that, which is very, very dangerous, radiation stuff like that. And they're just like, yeah, we've got our 250 million, let's get this job done so we can get on with it. We want all our money. Yeah, that can be our soil. That potentially could kill someone, you know what I mean?
That's such a big gamble.
That is a very big gamble. Wow.
2 years later, Tetra Tech admitted to falsifying soil samples and blamed the problem on individual employees. The U.S. Navy agreed to a revised plan to get rid of the still existing contamination. And at the same time, the first portion of the land was handed over to property developers to start building houses in the area. By 2016, more than 200 homes had been developed and even transferred to residents. Land transfers continued and new residents kept moving in. However, an independent review of Tetra Tech's data showed they had faked more soil tests than previously thought.
Wow.
The review found that almost half of the previous cleanup work was based on false information. A further review by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in 2018 found that the Navy had understated the scope of the problem. Based on these results, the development was put on an indefinite hold.
I'm not surprised.
By that time, at least...
Would you want to live in there, though? You know what I mean? You was contaminated land, you bought there. You'd be good if it were first pay, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd be good.
$1 billion had been spent on cleaning the shipyard, and more than 350 housing units had been sold for about $1 million each. As the project was put on hold, many lawsuits followed, seeking up to $30 billion. The homeowners sued the developers, who then sued Tetra Tech, while Tetra Tech sued the US Navy and the EPA for lack of evidence. And it gets even worse than previously thought. In 2022, a San Francisco grand jury reported that the shipyard will face a new problem. Previous cleanups might no longer be effective because of rising groundwater caused by climate change. The strategies of the past were premised on the idea that the dry areas of the shipyard will stay dry. However, rising groundwater has the potential to mobilize inactive contaminants in the soil. Overall, the project faces a massive delay. Most of the housing units at the former shipyard were supposed to be delivered to homeowners by 2020. However, a majority of these transfers won't happen until at least 2026. The project's future remains uncertain for now, and the cleanup mistakes mean that at least $1 billion spent on it have gone to waste.
Just like that. You know what I mean? Just like that.
For this video's last project,
I do hope that the people who did buy the house for $1 million, if they can't live there or if they can't get any resale value, they did get money in the lawsuits.
Yeah, I hope so.
You'd be good, wouldn't you?
You would be, yeah.
Absolutely good.
Look at another bridge collapse, which is one of the most devastating in the world.
Collapse.
Number 1. South Korea's horrible bridge disaster. Constructed in 1977, the Seongsu Bridge was built over the Han River and connected the Seongdong and Gangnam districts of South Korea's capital. Repeated overloading resulted in one of the biggest disasters in Seoul's history as the Seongsu Bridge collapsed on October 21, 1994. One complete slab between the 5th and 6th leg of the bridge came crashing down more than 50 meters and landed on the water. One car, a van, and a bus were in the middle of the slab as it collapsed. In addition, some cars fell off the edge and sank into the river. 32 people died in this accident.
Awful.
29 of them were passengers on the bus. The investigation to find out how this could happen was immediately ordered. Originally, the bridge...
It didn't even seem that much of a job.
No.
I'm so surprised it seems like it's floating as well, doesn't it?
It looks as though it's just gone down and crashed, but
then
stayed.
But floated on the water. But that is awful to see the loss of life and stuff like that. And yeah, bridges. We need to stay away from them, don't we?
I'm not going on a bridge.
Maybe no more bridges anymore. I've never had an issue with them before, but maybe not. Let us know how you feel about bridges in the comments.
Which was designed for vehicles under 36 tons. However, over the years, traffic increased during Seoul's rapidly increasing urban sprawl, and loads of over 47 tons per vehicle were allowed. The biggest cause was found to be lacking welding work on the steel trusses of the suspension structure. The bridge supports had begun to rust, and the overall condition was deteriorating. In addition, the structure wasn't maintained accordingly, despite multiple warnings. All these reasons combined to result in this tragic collapse.
That's awful, isn't it? Absolutely awful.
Maintain your bridges.
Yeah, maintain.
In the aftermath of the accident, 7 city officials responsible for maintaining the bridge were arrested. Meanwhile, the city mayor was forced to step down. While the collapse of the Seongsu Bridge was the biggest in Seoul, it wasn't the first accident involving a bridge collapse in South Korea. Similar collapses had occurred at least 8 times since the 1970s, including 3 on the Han River. Under immense public pressure, the government started an emergency inspection program for bridges all over South Korea. Meanwhile, a plan to repair the Seongsu Bridge was put into effect. However, it was soon found out that the structural weaknesses made it impossible to repair the damage. The bridge eventually had to be demolished and rebuilt. The new bridge was completed 3 years after the collapse, and it was designed to maintain as much resemblance to the original bridge as possible. However, the memories of that unfortunate morning in 1994 remain with Seoul's residents to this day.
Definitely.
If you found this video interesting...
Wow, that was good.
It was. There was a lot of bridges. I'm not a fan of bridges anymore.
There were some heavy ones in there as well, because if you were affected by them, we do apologise and hope you're all okay. But some big mistakes.
Some big mistakes, yeah.
All comes down to make sure you're maintaining, make sure you actually do your job properly, and check twice.
Check twice.
It's like one of them, you can measure twice, but you can only cut once. It's one of them labour sayings, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you measure it a couple of times.
Doesn't matter how many
times.
Just double check
it.
Check it. Check.
Definitely. Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was good, but
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's hard to say it was good.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Smash the like button, guys. Smash the subscribe button. And watch the video.
Have a fantastic
And
day.
we'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.